Well, good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to our July tips and tricks, where we're going to be going over user community resources. My name is Fred Foster, and I'm a member of the tips and tricks team. I'm joined this morning by Ileana Sabo, Carla Simmons, and Marjorie Faust. Dawn is traveling today, so she could not be with us. So Marjorie is filling in, and we've got a great program set up for you this morning. Some of the items that we'll be going over include incident management integration, using asset management in the audit management module, tracking action items individually. We'll be going over adoption resources, public and private configurations, using groups, setting up module defaults. We have a great guest today, which is Covanta Energy, which they will be showing you some of the things they're doing. And then we finally will be ending with a survey to see what tips and tricks topics you might want to see for an upcoming presentation. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Ileana, who will start us off.
Thank you, Fred. So first up, we have integrations available to you in incident management. So both of these integrations are available for those of you that have incident management and risk assessment and or the training management module. However, if you only have incident management module at this time, still stay on, pay attention, because you are going to be interested in these possibilities. So both of these, I should say, are public configurations that are available to you. So keep in mind when Carla takes a deep dive into how to enable public configurations a little bit later, that's the process you'll follow as long as you have either risk assessments or training management or both. Once you have enabled the configuration, you will have the corresponding sections based on your available modules under the incident details summary screen. As you can see on the left-hand side here, I have both sections available. So the behavior is ultimately the same for both of these sections, but here I've started by providing you with a screenshot for the risk assessment section. By clicking that blue edit button on the right-hand side, you'll be prompted to indicate if there's an associated risk assessment completed, and when you click yes, you're able to select from a pick list. So that's that screenshot on the bottom there. Again, this works very similar for the training section. So on this next slide, you'll see that by clicking the blue edit button, you'll be prompted to select training that can be associated with the incident. You also have the ability to indicate if said training was adequate. So again, here's your screenshot for the training section. Now, if your organization currently only has incident management, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, but you are interested in learning more about either risk assessment module or the training management module, you can just loop in your customer success manager. So next up, Carla is going to be talking to us about assets in audit management.
Thanks, Ileana. All right, so now to get to assets and audits. If any of you remember, last month we covered the asset registry and the innovative widget that was released as part of the 21. This month, I wanted to demonstrate where this data is coming from in the audit management module. Inspections are often done on all types of assets, and to ensure their health and safety, employees are always conducting audits or inspections on their assets. The question is whether or not your enterprise is formally linking these inspections to the assets. However, chances are that these inspections or audits are already being conducted, and someone's probably just notating them on an Excel spreadsheet or elsewhere. So for customers who have the asset management solution along with the audit management module, this experience can be completely digitalized, producing metrics and providing data right from the user's landing page. I'm going to dive right into the system. I know that I've provided a slide for you, but you will need to actually look to your right and expand your media player screen in order to go ahead and take a deep dive with me. So I am in the process of sharing now. And once my screen displays, you're actually going to see that asset management widget. I always like to tell a story when I go through these, because I know in our last tips and tricks, we probably had someone at least on the line that was wondering where this data here was populating from. Okay, as you can see in this instance, my screen has at the fire detection and alarms asset. I've gone ahead and searched it in my widget, and we have 3 audits that have been scheduled for this asset, and we have had 3 open findings. So what I'm going to demonstrate today is how we get this data on this beautiful widget. So I'm going to use my quick links here on the right and select conduct audits. Again, folks, if you are seeing my screen a bit small, feel free to click on the expand, or you are able to expand each window to your liking. Once that's loaded there, I'm going to click the new button at the top right-hand corner of the screen. And as you will see that this instance is automatically defaulting me to the advanced setup. In order to conduct an inspection on an asset, we must ensure to select the basic setup option, and that is actually going to expose the subtype, which will give us that ability to go ahead and perform an audit on that subtype. In this particular scenario, I am going to conduct a fire safety facility audit. It's going to copy down my program, and I'm going to select my subtype. This does allow you to select from a pick list that is going to generate, of course, that list that we have in the assets registry. However, we also have the smart type functionality here, to where I can simply just type in my fire detection and alarm system asset. Okay, I have John Doe selected as the lead auditor, and down here we also have the option that just got released to set the program status as audit close upon questionnaire completion. So this is a great functionality that was also recently released, and it's so beneficial because right now I'm actually having an internal issue where my users aren't marking these audits or inspections as complete, and they're not fulfilling that step of the process. So if I go in here and select yes and perform my audit, after I go in and answer all of my questions, this audit will automatically be deemed completed. So that's something really cool that we have as part of the release that I wanted to make sure to touch on today. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on the Perform Audit button there. And as you will see here at the top, under next to my assets, it pulled in the fire detection and alarm system. And I'm able to answer all of my different sections in the audit. Now we go to our findings. In the event that a non-preferred answer is selected, the system is going to prompt you, as you'll be used to if you have the audit management module, to select and identify the finding. So here, if we have an electrical short, wire is exposed, we are able to enter that finding here, enter it as an observation, and click Save at the bottom right. And again, folks, this is just basic part of conducting an audit. If you are obtaining findings, this is how you would do that in the event you haven't been in here before. So now that I've gone ahead and saved that, my finding has now been captured. And if you didn't already know, you can conduct and save an audit without answering all of the questions. So I'm going to go ahead and select OK and navigate back to my home screen, where now we have the widget. Again, we'll put in our fire detection. And you now see that my schedule audits numbers have gone up to 4, because 4 audits have now been scheduled for this particular asset, as well as my open findings have now moved up to 4. So this is going to alleviate the headache of having to go into each and every audit one by one. You're able to easily monitor your findings here and control over the asset, which is most important. Okay. You also want to keep in mind that being able to pull in that section in the audit is a configuration setting. So if you don't have it available right now as part of your basic setup, please feel free to reach out to your customer success manager to turn on that configuration. Speaking of configurations, I also wanted to navigate you through our public configurations. So for all of you who are joining me today who have no idea how to navigate there, I have provided you a slide as a takeaway in the PowerPoint, but I wanted to actually navigate you there myself so I can give a quick tutorial of how to access your custom settings in the back end. In our tips and tricks webinar, we're all about empowering our users. Sometimes that means we have to give you guys the fairy dust and let you soar. So today I'm going to teach you how to do that, and I really hope that this will be valuable to you. I'm going to navigate to Setup, Module Setup, and then we're going to go under Foundation. So just as an FYI, all of our configurations are held in the Foundation module since they are part of the foundation of our system. You're going to be exposed to the setup screen here, and if you select on configurations, it's actually going to bring you to a screen where we have the ability to search all of our configurable settings. So this is tips and tricks. So I'm going to give you insight on how I do it as I'm configuring as part of an implementation. I like to use my search function to search by module. For example, if I want to change a configuration in incident management, I want to go ahead and search so I'm able to expose the 311 possibilities for configuration that I'm able to utilize. Okay. I also like to search by show hide. So if I go to the configuration category and type in show hide, that is going to let me know what fields I'm able to hide from the application. So we always have that pain point that some of our forms may be too long for the user. Well, we do have an option to hide some of these fields. And to be exact, in incident management, we're actually able to hide 212 fields with this show hide functionality. So as a takeaway, feel free to take a look in here in the event that you want to see what is available to show or hide for whatever business. Okay. For today, I'm actually going to use this search functionality again because I actually want to default my case severity in incident management to no. Right now it's defaulted to yes, and it is tripping up some of my users, as well as that I want them to be able to complete a corrective or preventative action item while they are completing the first report. So what I'm going to do here is under my title, I'm going to type in Kappa. It's going to bring us my corrective or preventative action configurations that are available. So I wanted to do when its first report. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And team, the most useful part of this is to read. This description is going to tell you exactly what this configuration is going to do. If the value is set to yes, the field was a corrective action completed at the time of reporting an incident will be displayed. And if it's set to no, it will not be displayed. So right now it is set to yes. And to hide it, I can go in and click Save. Also, I can default my case severity. Again, my configuration is clicked to yes. And I can go ahead and make that change here. The system is always going to ask for a reason for change. Although we are capturing who is updating the value here, the system automatically captures that. We do want some type of change control. So best practice is to train your staff if they are making any changes to please type in whether they're initial or a notation as to why they are making this. Just like some of the configurations that Ileana was speaking of earlier, you do have to turn these on. But the most important part of today's session that I want you to remember is that these configurations are not set in stone until the Apply Configuration button has been selected. Once we select that, the system is actually going to kick you out and make you re-log back in. I am able to now click OK. I can go back in the system. And if you wanted to test, you simply would have to just open up a new window and test that the configurations have taken place. Okay. Along with public configurations, we also have some configurations that are needed. The team actually has to turn on for us. So I'm actually going to go ahead and turn it over to Fred so he can unpack that a little bit for us.
Thank you, Carla. And just give me 1 second to advance the slides. Yeah, as Carla mentioned and showed you, we have public configurations, but we also have private configurations that work very similar to the public ones, except that we need our technical team to change the settings on those. You can't change those yourselves, and neither can a CSM. If you do need a private setting adjusted, you have to open up a support ticket and our technical team can take care of it. Now, to see a private configuration, you can go into your filters and change what is being displayed to private. And when you do that, the screen will look very much like the public configurations, except there are no hyperlinks to click on to go and make adjustments. And we're showing this to you because we want to make you aware of all of these various private configurations. You can use the sort functions the same way, so you can see different things that you can adjust in your system. The only difference is if you want any of the private configurations adjusted, you have to open a support ticket. So that's public and private configurations. And now I am going to move on to making groups work for you. ProcessMAP has a concept of groups, and there are two main types of groups. We can have corporate or enterprise groups that are created on the enterprise level. And when you're doing an enterprise group, you can assign users from multiple locations into that group. And groups can also be created at the site or the local level. And the assignment of users in there would be from whatever location you are currently in. And groups can be used in 3 of our modules in learning management. And with learning management, we only use enterprise groups. They can also be used in incident management and task management, where you can use both location and enterprise groups. The enterprise group are used in learning management for session assignment. They're used in incident management for notification setup, and that would be the setup from setup, module setup, incident management, so the enterprise module configuration. And the same with task management. You can use task management notifications in the enterprise groups. You would go to setup, module setup, task management, and then the action item library in there. The location groups, those are used in incident management when you're setting up notifications from the location level, as well as those being created in task management. So to create a group, we'll start with enterprise groups. So you're first going to go to Setup, Security, and Groups. From there, you will see a group list. And to add a new group, simply click on the New button in the upper right-hand corner. Once you click on New, you will be presented with a screen to enter a group name and to select the status. If you're adding a new group, you would probably want to make it active, as well as having a field to add any comments on that group. Maybe you want to put an explanation about what the group is about. So here I've named the group Enterprise Group 1, and I set the status to active. Now the next thing I need to do is add group members to it. So I'm going to click on Group Members, and I'm now presented with a filter. We have to first select what locations. Now, we are setting up enterprise groups, so you would have all your locations available. You would select the locations that you want to select users from. And you also have an option of adding a role. So these are the roles that are assigned to each individual for each module. So if you want to get the group list of those, say, system admins, you can go to and add that group filter in. So you would add the location or multiple locations. The role is optional, so once you at least have a location in, you can click on Go. And now you are presented with a screen where you're going to select the members. On the left-hand side of the screen, these are users that are available to be selected. The right-hand side of the screen will have those that are currently selected. And since we are setting up an enterprise group, it will also show the location. So you simply click the users on the left-hand side and use your arrows to move them over, and then they are selected. You would click Save down at the bottom, and you have now created an enterprise group. Creating location groups is similar, except you're going to start out by going to Setup, Location Setup, Administration Setup, and then select Groups from the Setup screen. Once you select groups, you will see any location groups that have already been set up. And again, it's whatever location you are currently in. To add a new group, you would select New in the upper right-hand side. And you're going to see the same screen that we saw a moment ago for enterprise groups. You want to give it a name, select the status. Generally, it would be active. You can enter any comments that are needed, and then click Save at the bottom of the screen. Once you click Save, it's going to tell you that the records have been successfully saved. Click OK to close the window or cancel to stay on the page. This is common dialog box that we see throughout ProcessMAP modules. So in this case, I would click Cancel because I still want to add the members. So now we see the name of the location group, and I can click on Group Members in the upper left to start adding the group members. You'll see that when the filter screen comes up, it's automatically going to have your location selected because we are setting up a location group. You can optionally add a role filter to filter out some users that are in a selected role. And now you will be presented the screen where you have available users on the left, and you use your arrows to move the users over to the right to select them for the group. Once you've moved the members over and click Save at the bottom, your group is now formed. So now I mentioned earlier that enterprise groups can be used in the learning management module. And they're used to schedule training, and it's a great, easy way to set up your trainings by assigning them to groups. And we have had some LMS customers that actually set up a group. They'll call it new hires, and then anyone in that group will get certain courses that they've selected for new hires. But when you're setting up scheduled training, you're first going to go to modules, learning management, scheduled training. The screen's going to ask you for some information regarding the training that you're going to be doing, the session name, description, etc. But what we're interested in is the assignment. So down at the bottom, you'll see participant details and an option to assign this to a category. When you want to assign it to a group, you're going to select group as the category. And then you are going to select the pick list under groups to actually go and pick which group you want to assign. Now, this is enterprise groups. So you would see your enterprise groups listed on the group screen. You click on the check marks to select which groups, hit select down at the bottom of the screen. And we've now assigned this training to 2 different enterprise groups. Now, we can also use groups in our task management module. So when you're creating a task under modules task management, there's an option of who should be assigned the task, and it can be assigned to either an owner or a group. If you want to assign it to a group, select group in the drop-down list, and then select pick list next to primary group field. You're now going to see a screen of location groups. Click the checkbox for either one or more of the groups that you wish to assign this task to. Click select at the bottom. And we've now assigned this task to the group Westlake location group number 1. We can also use groups for setting up tasks that are in our action item library. This is done under setup, module setup, task management. So when you're creating a new task in the library, one of the options that you're going to have is who you're going to assign it to. And one of the options in there is group, so you would select group, and then click on the pick list next to primary group. You will now see your enterprise groups listed. Select the enterprise groups that you wish to assign this task to. Click select down at the bottom, and they are now assigned. You can also use groups for incident management notifications. So we're going to start off with enterprise notifications. Those are set up by going to Setup, Module Setup, Incident Management, and then select Notification under the Incident Management lookup values. We're now on the screen where we would set up our notifications. The first column is the criteria that you would select for setting up this particular notification. And then the middle column and the right-hand column are for who should be receiving the notification. And we're going to use the pick list to select the groups in there. So when you get to the screens, you would click on Select Groups in the upper left-hand corner, and you'll be presented with your different enterprise groups. You can click in the check boxes, click Select down at the bottom of your screen. And these notifications will now be sent to members of these various groups that you selected. Finally, you have to hit Save down at the bottom to save the notification. Very much like the enterprise notifications, we can also use groups in location notifications. So what we're going to do for that, we're going to navigate to Setup, Location Setup, Module Setup, and now we're on the Location Setup screen. We have a section for Incident Management, and in there, I'm going to click on Notifications. Same screen that we saw a minute ago, except this is notifications that are going out at the location level. So you set your criteria up in the first column, and then the middle column and the right-hand column are which groups should be receiving the notification. Just like we had with enterprise groups, you're going to select groups, and you'll be presented with a list of your location groups. In this case, I'm going to assign this notification to Westlake location group number 1. Click select down at the bottom of the screen. And this notification will now be going to the members of Westlake location group number 1. So that was a quick rundown of how you can use groups to help you out. And I'm now going to turn this over to Ileana, who will be going over module defaults.
Thank you, Fred. You know, I'm really, really glad that we included groups in today's session because, and I think it's the case with many of the features that we're showing today, is that these features are truly very useful, and we tend to discuss it very early on in our customers' ProcessMAP journey. So typically during implementation phase or during training, but then the system goes live or the module goes live and system admins get busy. So it's easy to forget that it's there and that it's available for you to set up and utilize and, of course, take advantage of, right? So this is also the case with setting defaults for your alerts and reminders. Now, I'm going to show you here on this first screen is simply the pathway for this. So by navigating to setup, location setup, that's right, this is location-based, and then administration setup, you will see a choice for module defaults. Once you click module defaults, you're going to be navigated to this screen that I have a screenshot here for you. You're going to go ahead and select from your available modules. So if you want to set your default alerts and reminders for your audit module, or for calendar, or for incident management, industrial hygiene, you just select the module that you would like to set your defaults for. You're then going to be navigated over to this next screen on this slide. So you're able to, in that very first box there, you see owner for corrective action. The great thing about this configuration is, that this setting, I should say, is in location setup, is that if you have facility managers, or depending on how you have your org structure, you may have your locations may actually be departments. So if you have a department head or a facility leader that is the owner for the majority of your corrective actions, you're able to set the default owner for corrective actions as well. However, this is not mandatory, so you can leave it blank. And then under that, you'll see the next section is alerts and reminders. So now we're getting to the nitty-gritty. You can set default alerts and reminders for the module that you selected up there, so that when you're creating CAPAs, it's one less step that you have to take. So we're going to start by clicking the New button. And that's going to bring you over to a new screen, which is the Add Alert or Reminder screen. So the first drop-down, you'll notice it says Type there. There is two choices there, Alert or Reminder. Depending on which you choose, that's going to drive the preceding field. So what I've done here is I've duplicated the same screen here to show you the fields according to that first selection. So first things first, we get this question a lot. What is the difference between an alert and a reminder? And it's a very good question. So a reminder is before the due date of an action item. An alert goes out after the due date. So you'll notice that the verbiage changes a little bit depending on which you choose for that reason. However, in both of these cases, you get to choose when that first alert or that first reminder is going to be sent. Also, you can choose if you'd like to continue sending notifications on a periodic basis until the action item has been closed. Again, this is a great time saver because it avoids you having to set this over and over for each action item in that module by location. Another great business case that we see that customers utilize alerts and reminders for and utilize this default is that they'll use it as an escalation tool, meaning that perhaps the action item owner will receive a reminder. So ding, 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 you need to go in and complete this action item. And sometimes our customers will choose that the alert goes to the supervisor. So ding, 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 someone hasn't done this action item. So that's another great way to utilize these. Definitely one of my favorite features that we offer within ProcessMAP. So we also have another great feature within our action items, and that is to track action items individually. So this feature may have sneaked up on some of you in, I believe it was one of our 2020 features, one of our releases in 2020. So it might have gone by some of you. So we wanted to make sure that we highlighted this. I'm going to take you through the ability to track action items individually. This functionality is across all modules. So I do hope that I have everyone's attention for this one, because regardless of what modules you have, this one's for you. So you'll see that here under my action item, I have here two owners, I should say. I have Carla and I have Fred. Sorry guys, I'm giving you work to do. And both of them, because they're my owners, I can select the section underneath to track them separately. So if Carla is lagging on her action items and Fred's already completed it, I'm able to see who still has an open action item pending. So again, we had this functionality as a request for quite some time. So many of you, maybe it went by you when it came out in 2020, but now you know that it's there. And also some of you may see this as an option but aren't sure what the actual functionality does. Well, once I hit save, you'll see on this next screen that Carla and Fred both have separate action items here. So I'm able to see, again, track them individually. It allows for separate tracking when you have more than one action item owner. So yes, please utilize this feature. I think many of you will take advantage of it if you didn't know it was there. And the next feature is also one that might have escaped you as well. So I'm going to send it back over to Carla, and she's going to take you through some adoption resources.
Thank you so much, Ileana. I mean, tracking that action item individually is really underutilized, and I'm sure that a lot of people on the call today were just like, oh, that's what that button does. So I'm glad that we were able to kind of go through that today. I'm also thrilled that I'm able to talk about this next topic, because there's nothing that helps us understand the user community better than our adoption portal. It still baffles me that some of our users are still not aware that the traffic and adoption portal exists. So the adoption portal, for those who don't know, is a place where system administrators can gain insight on how often users are logging in and what modules are highly utilized in the application. I've provided a path here for everyone on the call in case you wanted to follow along. So you see here the path on the slide. So it is in setup, system setup, and then broadcast. But first things first, let's grab our credentials. So by navigating to the broadcast, and if you utilize the search functionality and search for enterprise traffic and usage dashboard, you'll actually get, as displayed on the left-hand side here, you'll find a broadcast with the user credentials. You'll also find a link, and by clicking that link, the system is actually going to navigate the user to ProcessMAP Insight. By using the credentials that are on the page or on the broadcast, the user, of course, depending on scope and permissions, is going to be able to log in. Once they logged in, they will have insights to how often a user logged in, the ratio of logins of web versus mobile. They're going to see the total logins. Not only that, but on the top of the dashboard, they actually have modular tabs. So they're able to actually go to each tab and see data for that corresponding module. So this gets me excited. There's nothing that gets ProcessMAP more excited than bringing data to our users. And since today we're actually discussing user resources, user adoption for our system admins out there, we really wanted to make sure that we just emphasize how valuable this is and how it is available to you. So we're passing the baton over to our system admins. Now you guys are able to see the same insight that your customer success managers are tracking for your QBRs. In the event that you do not have that broadcast and you're on the line with me today, please reach out to your customer success manager. They'll be more than happy to either navigate you and find you where to have it, enable it for you, but they'll definitely be able to assist you in that if you're not seeing on it. Again, folks, I can't stress the value of this portal. You're able to hone in on your users, especially if you are in soft deployment, just out of implementation, or even if you've been with the company now for 5-6 years and want to see what modules your users are actually benefiting from and see value in. And then you can also, on the opposite spectrum, track the underutilized modules to pinpoint what may be needed. Maybe that user needs a little bit more training. Maybe your staff just needs more visibility or more promotion of that module. So it really does give us good insight. If you did find this valuable, just hold on to your chairs, because next on our agenda, we definitely have a treat for you, and it's definitely about to feed your minds.
That's right. So this month's tips and tricks is extra special because we have our first ever customer spotlight. We are so excited to have the Covanta team on this morning to give users their tips and tricks and their perspective, because they truly are in your shoes. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Justin August and Lucienne Van Sweden to take it away for us.
Yes, hello everyone. So Lucy and I will be presenting on behalf of Covanta, and our slogan, just wanted to talk a little bit about Covanta at the beginning here. Our slogan is powering today, protecting tomorrow. So we're going to go over some administrative solutions. I am the Industrial Hygiene Program Manager, and Lucy handles a lot of data. She's the Health and Safety Data Specialist. So talking about our company, Covanta, so what we do, we work in an industry called waste to energy. So that means that we take in mostly residential trash, virtually all residential trash, and we combust it to create electricity. So that means that we have 41 modern waste to energy facilities in North America, that's Canada and the US and Europe. and it means that we are able to take equivalent of 21 million tons of waste every year and combust it to create electricity. And so that means that we continuously produce enough clean energy to power 1 million homes across mainly the US and Canada. Also Dublin, Ireland, and places in the UK. We take this waste after its recycling has already occurred. But even after recycling has already occurred, we are able to get more metals out. In addition to energy, we get these metals out. In fact, we get some 600,000 tons of metal each year out of the trash that you throw out. And it's enough metal to build 6 Golden Gate bridges. So we have some 3,800 professionals who are employed at our facilities. By the way, we also have, in addition to the 41, we have some more than 15 other facilities that take industrial type waste and determine whether some of them can be taken at our facilities. So they take other types of waste and make it acceptable for our facilities. So this group that we have of 15 plus facilities are trying to make, the group is called Covanta Environmental Solutions. And so they're looking for solutions for our customers to make them more sustainable and are encouraging a circular economy. And this next slide was just a photograph of one of our facilities showing a grapple that picking up trash, as you can see, normal trash, and we get energy and metals out of that material that you see there. So we're the sustainable solution. We're 24/7, unlike solar, particularly, and wind. So we're focused on safety. We have a world-class safety program. In fact, we're among the top 10 companies in the U.S. Because we've entered most of our locations, most of these waste-to-energy locations, into the OSHA Voluntary Protection Program. This is also known as the VPP STAR program from OSHA. And that means we're exemplary in safety and health. And what that means is we're expected to go above and beyond compliance every single day. So when we volunteer to have OSHA come on site with their team there's 3 to 5 people come every 3 to 5 years, and they stay multi-days, most of a week, and they audit our books, they walk our facilities, and they interview our employees. And if we're not going above and beyond compliance and improving, by the way, every time they see us, we report on our improvements to them every year, and then every 3 to 5 years, they want to see it's really true. So you can see that it forces you to move forward in safety. So it means employee participation is important, and we use ProcessMAP to ensure we have participation. And we also have the interviews checked to see if we're controlling hazards when they walk to facilities, whether controlling hazards and mitigation, which is an element of VPP, whether we have employee participation, management commitment, and training, which are the major elements of VPP. And we also have to have injury rates that are significantly below the U.S. Industry average. And you can see on this slide another image of the interior of one of our facilities. Essentially it's, there's steam pipes in there and boilers, so they're creating energy from the waste. And as I mentioned, we have a group called, with some 500 employees called Covanta Environmental Solutions, and they find solutions for companies such as these to get more energy and more recycling out of the waste that they take. And so that's another focus, though. This is a small portion of the total waste we take. We have that special group that's focused on that. With that, I'm going to pass it off to Lucy Van Sweden.
Great. Thank you, Justin.
So before I get started, I just really want to thank, the ProcessMAP team and Ileana for giving us a chance to show some of the things that, we've been doing, because I do think it's very important to kind of do that share amongst industries or, cross company and things like that. I think that's how people learn or think of things they didn't think of before. So today I wanted to kind of go through a couple of the administration pain points and solutions or recommendations that we've come up with, but to give you kind of an idea about where we're at in our ProcessMAP account. We've been a customer for several years. As Justin said, we have, lots of employees between our waste to energy group and our Covanta CES group. So that's roughly around 4,000. That being said, we have many modules, right, that we currently are using. And we also have the App Builder module. And within that, we have several custom apps and some of the ProcessMAP apps that we have deployed. So we have a lot going on. When we first took this on, Justin and I were basically kind of, heading it. And so we really only have two primary administrators. And that being said, we have lots of other duties, right? We have full-time jobs before this came on board. So, as we kind of started implementing and using the system, we started realizing real quick that, this could take some time and lots of hands, and how do we make that easier and more efficient for our company and for our users? So with that being said, again, I want to talk about some of those administrative pain points that we first kind of came about, and some of the things that we've done that have made it a lot easier, so that we're really only worrying about the things that are kind of top priority, and, we're able to have some other people help us along the way. Some of the things I'm going to show you will be about kind of just understanding, those users and their permissions and having them added and things like that, because that is a really big pain point. Also, just the idea of kind of train the trainers, only having a few people to kind of walk through all the different things and, using that to your advantage, and then also pushing it out to your team or your locations and employees in an efficient way. Some of the training materials that we've done, managing the updates as they come in, so we don't get bombarded the day after an update with issues. And then just some things that we've also done in terms of employee engagement and buy-in to kind of continue to get the system going and, make it beneficial for our company. All right, so one of the first things I wanted to hit, and this is actually one that has hit us a little closer to home recently, is understanding user access, right? So the user access and security very quickly became overwhelming for us, especially when you start having your management team and the employees kind of really start buying in. All of a sudden, you just start getting hit with emails. So can this person have access, or this person needs to be, seeing multiple locations and, all of that kind of stuff, right? So when we initially did our implementation several years ago, we did set up an HRMS feed. And for those that aren't sure what that is, it's basically, connecting maybe your HR system. For us, it's Workday, right, to ProcessMAP. So your employees automatically come in when they're new and get pulled off when they're old, and it matches up to your single sign-on or whatever IT system you're using. Just tries to make it more fluid. So that worked great for a little while. But then once our engagement really increased, we had it set up as a weekly function. We were basically getting hit 10 times a day, 10 users a day. Can you add Joe? Can you add Sally? Can you add Susan, right? Problem is, because we have a feed, we didn't necessarily want to manually add these employees because we want them to come over properly through the system so that we didn't mess anything up, right? So it just ended up being a situation. The other thing that we found out is that when we initially set it up, we maybe didn't set it up right. So our IT and our HR department might change some names in the system. They might decide to change an email address, right? And we didn't have it set up that way. So it ended up adding another layer and a timeline, right? A little bit of a delay to get these users in. So what we recently did is we kind of reconfigured the feed to make it work better. So some of the recommendations that I have are, one, if you don't have an HRMS feed, and especially if you're new, take the time, take the money, set it up. It will make your life a lot easier. But when you do that, make sure you work with your HR team, whoever your HR IT people are, and also your IT security team, right? So anybody, if you have
single sign-on, things like that. Make sure they all talk together and they figure out what has to happen. You know, are you changing certain profile pieces daily? Understand that ahead of time so that when you do that, you can make sure that your feed is set up to also accept those changes. So you don't have to go back like we did and kind of reconfigure everything. One of the other things that we do is we also included setting up some base level permissions within our feed. So every time a new employee is added, we look at whether they're a supervisor employee or a non-supervisor employee. If they supervise people, they get a little extra level of permissions, right? They can see more action items, they can respond on certain individuals, things like that. If they're a basic employee, they can come in, they can put action items in, they can handle near misses, they can do BBS observations, right? They have at least some kind of minimal access when they join the company. And then my last point on this one is to make your feed daily, because again, we started out with weekly, but once we started getting that traffic, right, everybody wants access, and we didn't have it. So now that it's daily, knock on wood, we are not getting the requests like we used to. Now I'm only getting minimal amount of requests compared to what we were. So this has really helped us in the long term. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about, and the next several slides really we'll talk about this, is about training, right? So how do you've set up the system, but now you have to train everybody how to use it. And how do you make sure they know how to use it? And how do you even, continue that training, right, after you've done the initial? Because I don't know about you guys, but I definitely do not have time to be training people every single day on the same thing. So we took the approach of saying, okay, Justin and I are two people. We're the primary admins. Let's get some of our either regional or location people, let's train them to become super users. So our super users were our regional safety personnel that were out there, and some of our facility safety professionals. But then also, you have those certain people that are really savvy with the computers and things like that can really pick up on things, right? So what we did was kind of, again, the trainer approach. We got trained. We had several of them join the ProcessMAP super user trainings that we did early on in implementation. And then we kind of did a second level of that and trained some more people to make sure that, we had adequate people out in the field that could help us support it, so we weren't constantly being asked to train. And then once we got that group trained and we did our sort of initial launch, we then used those super users, as we call them, to train the facilities, right? So now when we have new employees come on, we don't have to do it. We have somebody local at the site that can do it, or we have somebody at the regional level that if that local person can't answer the question or can't provide it, that regional person can do it. And what it's done is it's really funneled a lot of the excess questions and trainings out. So now Justin and I can focus on sort of that high level, what we really need to help people with. What we've also done is we've used webinars, right? So we've done webinars, we've recorded them, we've made that available. And then we've made it so that, again, we're taking our time and we're using it, more useful so that we can create better training materials and things like that along the way. And so again, this is going to hit a little bit on it, but I'm going to show you some examples. This is kind of our training approach overall, right? So we do our training, or train the trainer. Within that, we've taken the ProcessMAP help documents, which are really great, but, we have our own kind of company-specific specifications that we've put in there, our different configurations. Maybe we changed the field name or something like that, right? And it looks a little different than the basic ProcessMAP sort of view. So what we've done is we've developed really easy to understand training materials, short and sweet, right? But gives them exactly what they need to know. And remember, you always have to go down to that end user level, that person that barely uses a computer, that person that barely can read that piece of paper. They want to see a couple pictures and point some arrows, and that's it, right? So we've kind of done that between our materials and ProcessMAPs. Then what we did was we created we call it an internal web page, right? We use SharePoint, but we created a central place where we can put all of those training materials and then share them, across the entire company. So, in the event that they have a question, they have a resource to go to before they reach out to myself or Justin, or before they go to one of their super users, right? They have an option to try to find those documents. And then the last part is that what we also have done, Justin showed you, we're kind of in an industrial environment. things like that, lots of things going on, is we've created kind of hard copy versions of some of those basic documents, and we've placed them out in the field, whether, it's by a computer, a kiosk, things along those lines. So the users, or even our contractors when they come in, right, they can quickly they see the computer, they want to go in, I want to put in an near miss. They can flip through a couple pages, find it, and then, there they go. They have the documentation. So it's very easy to get to. So here's an example of some of our training materials. We have tons of them, right? But simple slides. This shows just kind of the top two show basic navigation. And I think that's really important, right? Because, you log in and it's a lot of stuff, right? These guys want to know, what do all these things mean? If I want to put in an action item, where do I go? If I want to put in a near miss, where do I go? So we have some really quick, easy reference guides that they can just see and understand what the different buttons need. That, and I think the customizing the homepage, which I know, the team has talked about a lot over the past tips and tricks about widgets and things like that, right? Really getting your employees to understand, or your users to understand, that it's a lot in there, but you can actually make it look like what you want. If you only care to put in your action items, make it so that they understand to set that widget to see that thing. If you have managers that want to see certain things on theirs, rates or whatever, right? Really kind of showing them that, hey, you don't have to stick with this page. It could be too much. If you want 5 buttons, turn on 5 buttons. That's it. So we really emphasize that, and I think it's important because you want to show that one-stop shop, right? You want to say that you can get everything in one click. So we really, really try to focus hard, and I usually will do like a 90-minute quick webinar with some of my super user kind of groups, and that's one of the things I really emphasize is really understanding these different buttons, whether it's on the phone or on the home page, and the widgets and all of that. And then on here, the other thing I put is to really remember to focus on that calendar icon. I joke around and call it the Holy Grail with my group. Once they realize that they can click one button and see all the action items, right? Because you can get the action items for every module all kinds of different ways. But if you give them one button, you say, if you click on this, you got everything you need, it makes a difference. And half of them don't even see it. So really, really, really emphasize that button, and it will make it a lot easier to get your team kind of on board with what you're trying to do. So the other thing we do is, like I said, with our training materials, we have a software platform that we use to create little videos. And, we basically just import a PowerPoint template, and then, we have somebody voice over some steps on it, maybe 3 to 5 minutes long, nothing big, really quick. And we take them and we also add them to our training material. So something simple like adding a near miss, right? It's something they're going to do every single day. Finding your location is what you see on my screen right now, right? Little things like that where they're going to use it a lot. If you have the ability to do it, there's lots of different platforms out there. You can even just do it with PowerPoint. That's really helps because some people are computer savvy, some aren't, some can read, some can't, right? So you kind of hit all of those little learning spectrums that are important. The other thing is if you're wasting your time, and I don't want to say wasting your time, but spending your time doing any kind of training webinars, right? Record them because then they're useful for other people later. You don't have to do it again. You can reuse them. And on here, you'll see I have a recommendation, right? So I'm giving you all this stuff, all these great ideas to do, right? But how do you do it? So what we did is we took the approach of, we typically will get a summer intern, right? And so the last several years, especially once we started implementing ProcessMAP, we used those interns and those temp employees. We gave them a little bit of a guideline. What's our priority? Is it, creating near misses, tracking reports, creating audits, whatever, entering an action item. We had these little topics, and we had them help us create these training materials, whether it's these little videos and voicing them over, taking screenshots, finding some information, talking to the users. We use them to our advantage. So, you might only have them for a short time, but you can really get a lot done with them. And then here, this again, just shows you kind of what that all looks like, right? I talked about our central repository. We use SharePoint. There's obviously other options out there. But what we've done is, we've kind of, as we've built these resources, we started creating this little catalog of things, right? And so you only see a couple of the modules broken down here, but we have all of, training materials within all of our different modules and how, just quick little tips and PowerPoints and videos and things like that to help them. And we've also tried to break them down a little bit by user, right? So, like all the navigation and the overview stuff, that's all users, right? Some of the stuff might just be basic. How do I enter a near miss? But then there might be some for more of the super users, right? Like how do they do more things? How do they really add questions to an audit? Things like that. So again, you start cataloging that and making it easier for them to find, then, a lot of the headache and the question goes away. And then this last point talks about, I was talking about having a hard copy, right? So as we create these training materials, what we did was, once we got most of it together, we just kind of basically merged it all into one document, right? And we created this little how-to manual. And it changes, periodically, but it's generally a good catch-all of all the basics. Entering a near miss, entering an observation, entering an action item, right? All that kind of stuff. We compiled it all together, and then we gave it to our site, so then they were able to either, one, just print out a copy and have it for themselves, refer to it whenever. But then what they've also done is they've taken it and they've put it, again, you can kind of see in this picture here, at any kind of kiosk. So if we have iPads out in the field or if we have computers out in the field, whatever, they've put it in central locations, break rooms, admin areas. And also, it gives the employees an opportunity when they're maybe having a little downtime to kind of review and remind themselves of what's going on, how to do certain things. Just a quick little reference guide. And again, short and sweet, couple pages, no big deal, just enough for them to consume. And then again, so I'm not going to focus on this too much, but this is another pain point, right? The updates. I know for a while, initially on, we were getting tons and tons and tons of, complaints from our users saying, oh, I just updated and I can't access this and da-da-da-da and blah, 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 right? So I know the team worked on this last month a little bit during tips and tricks and kind of gave you guys some ideas, but we already kind of do that. So when we know an update's coming, we send them a quick reminder and we give them those steps, very similar to what ProcessMAP presented last month, saying, here it comes, this is what you got to do, don't expect anything, right? Because for us, we didn't have too many big things going on. Or if there is a big update, we let them know. We give them, some resources to help them through it, to remind them to do things. And then this way we don't get all of the influx in traffic of complaining or not being able to do things or not seeing something. With that being said, I recommend that all admins create like a 1 or 2 page PowerPoint that is just a quick guide of how to clear your cache, okay? Because it's really important when you, like right after an update, to have that document because you have to do it, right? You have to clear your cache or things don't work. But 99% of the problems I get, if I send my user with the issue that document and say, hey, try this first, it's almost always resolved. And I end up not having to put in tickets and things like that, right? So I really suggest if you don't have like a 2 or 3 or 4 page PowerPoint, that you take it, and I'm sure your CSMs have them so they can make it available. It's send it to your user and say, do this first. Let them do some work, and if that don't work, then you might have a bigger problem. It will totally help you in the long run. Okay, and then so for my last slide, this is kind of our, once we're in, right, what's important? It's kind of engaging people. And once you start seeing that engagement, how do you keep it going? So early on, especially if you're in that sort of kind of just rolling it out, just implemented, you're going to have people that complain. It's going to happen. We had a site that was completely against the electronic approach. They thought everything was great the way they did it. Everybody was in, they had their paper versions, their Excels, their little Access databases, and everybody was in their own silo. So when we said, no, you're going to start using ProcessMAP, there was some pushback. And this, to give you kind of a background, this facility was one where the employees have all worked together for a long time. They all, kind of stand behind each other, that kind of idea. So, of course, they were against it, right? But luckily for us, we were able to make it work with them. And what we did was we sat down and we listened to them. What are your problems, right? How can we make them resolutions? And we also said, well, give us a chance to show you that this works. Use it. Prove us wrong, right? And when you give us an issue, we'll try to fix it or come up with a workaround. And we did that, and they ended up becoming one of our, if not our best, location now. They are 100% electronic. They use everything from the phones to the iPads to everything else. They stand behind us. And now when we have these kind of calls about how do we use this better, or somebody complains about something, they're one of the first locations that stand up and say, well, no, didn't you know you can do this? And they kind of help. They have our back, and it's really made a difference for us. The other thing that we've done is we make sure that early on, we celebrated those milestones, right? So we recognize employees or locations that we're doing really great. We regularly show the numbers that this region is doing, has done, 5,000 near misses and whatever. We let them kind of have that nice competitive interaction, and it helps to kind of keep things going, right? So I highly suggest that, whether it's just via internal communications, maybe an occasional gift, whether it's a pizza party or a certain employee gets like a little, auto kit or something like that, right? It really does make a difference, because then it makes people want to do it more. And then the other part is, really just communicating your progress regularly on kind of a bigger scope, but also on a location scope. Because, if you're talking about wanting to add new things, we see all these great things that ProcessMAP is adding, right? How do you get the money? How do you get the management team to buy into that it's worth it? Well, you got to show them that people are using it and that they're actually liking it. So it's really important to continue to communicate that. And I suggest, I know some people maybe don't use all of them, but I really suggest that you focus on those leading indicators, because, we started off probably in early 2019, really introducing them to our company. And we already, as Justin said, we're in PPP. So we've already had a pretty robust near-miss program. So we just basically took their standalone near-miss programs and tried to merge them into one. Once we did that in 2019, we slowly started seeing our enterprise numbers rise and rise and rise. And I think like last year we had over 40,000. I don't even know what it was. It was well above there. And the same thing for BBS, like we see a lot of them. And right now I just projected that we're around 25% increase in our observations from last year to this year. Focus on them. One, you'll start seeing some of your issues, right? But it's the easiest way to get the employees in the system and using it. And, what we've done with our near-miss program is, since we already had it, we said, okay, well, how can we make this easier? We've created daily reports. Every morning, our management team and our safety personnel, they get a report from Insight that says, here's all the near misses that came in for the last night. They review it. They, our facility person or whomever is our program manager there will go ahead and take, open up ProcessMAP. They answer their action items. They do it all in one shot, right? So by 9 o'clock, they're done. And they've done it. And then the next day they do the same, and then they share it across the work groups during, turnovers and whatever. So really, you want to utilize those leading indicators, because it's a great way for engagement, and you will start seeing that change. So I think with that, I am done. But that being said, if anybody has any questions, whether it's today or later on, feel free to reach out to your customer service managers, and Ileana can certainly send them our way, and whatever we can do to help. Again, I think it's important to share the findings, whether it's between, companies or within a company. So I have no problem helping everybody where I can.
Thank you so much, Lucy. Thank you and Justin for joining us this morning and for being so open to share, because I know that you guys are the first customer that we spotlight. So you guys just kicked it out of the ballpark, like for sure. I know that so many of our users on the call are going to benefit from you all sharing your processes and your perspective. And when we first started talking and you started kind of showing me everything that you guys were doing, I got super excited. And I work with this every day, right? So I knew that you guys coming on was really going to be helpful. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And, we want to take tips and tricks to the next level. The tips and tricks team is committed to really making tips and tricks as beneficial, as valuable as possible to all of our listeners. And we want to make it a platform where not only we at ProcessMAP can share our takes with you, our favorite features, but also where if your organization is doing something really well, like Covanta Energy is, or if you found a process or a functionality that has been a complete game changer for you, please reach out to us or reach out to your customer success manager, because we'd love to have you on. I know many of my customers have told me that, everything going on in 2020 and through 2021 with COVID has kind of taken away from some of that customer networking that ProcessMAP was really big at bringing to you. So please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. And with that, I also want to mention that we have a great topic coming up next month. So we want to keep this momentum going. And if you have a great custom app, or if you want to hear more about App Builder, then next month is going to be a topic you don't want to miss, because we're going to have an App Builder customer roundtable. I've been talking about this, and I know some of the other customer success managers started talking about this during our checkpoint calls. If you have a custom app that you have built, or a custom app that ProcessMAP has built for your organization, and you want to show it off, or you want to show others what's possible, please reach out to your customer success manager and partake. Join the conversation next month. We're going to make it customer focused, so we'll make it a platform where you all can come on and show off, your hard work. And that is on August 25th at 11 a.m. Eastern. So we're very excited for this. Again, another first for us at Tips and Tricks, and we're hoping that we get lots of participation. I know we already have some customers that have reached out to their success manager and told them that they would love to join. So I'm looking forward to it. And Carla has one more topic that we're going to try to get some interaction here from our crowd. So Carla, I'll let you take it away on customer's choice.
All right. Thank you, Ileana. Before we get into customer's choice, please reach out to your customer success manager. If you have an app, definitely I know there's a lot of clients that are on the call today. You all have apps. So we want to hear from you at that customer roundtable. All right. So, in terms of customer choice, today we wanted to do a little something different. I know that you have heard me over and over again, if you're a regular on the call, that we want to hear from you. So today, you may have noticed that at the lower left-hand side of your screen, you may have to scroll down a little bit. There is a quick survey. ProcessMAP's Tips and Tricks will be hosting one of these 4 options in an upcoming session, and we would like to know what would move our listeners. Will it be a round table for big ideas? So just to give a little or unpack that a little bit, a round table of big ideas would really be just inviting our users with big ideas to present it, and we're working on sort of like a Shark Tank. You can obtain buy-in. The users can then go into that Big Ideas portal and vote for your ideas, and we will give that interaction or that feedback to our product development team. Second option on that survey is managing integrations. We've covered integrations before, but I know they can be tricky. Lucy made a great point today in regards to that HRMS integration and how valuable it was for Covanta and her team. So if you need to know a little bit more, if you already have an integration and want to discuss that further or want more knowledge on that, or if you're interested in possibly getting integration, we can also facilitate a session in that regard. Key module features is just as listed. We would go over your key module features that are underutilized. So using that adoption portal that we've showed you guys today. We can get some statistics from that and cover underutilized module features. And last but not least, ESG, or environmental social governance. ESG, or sustainability, has been a hot topic lately. A lot of our companies are looking at our sustainability module if they don't already have it, and they're looking to, of course, become more sustainable so we can save the earth and prove that we have a small or an insignificant carbon footprint. The less, the better. So we can have some dialogue about that, how to utilize our module to get what you're looking for. So those 4 options are available for us to present. So I'd like to ask the users on the call today, or just anyone on the call today who feels like voting, if you don't see the poll on your bottom left, please feel free to utilize the yellow icons that you'll see at the bottom of your screen and select the survey option. That will populate your options and you'll be able to quickly vote on there. All right. So now that we have some votes, we will be debuting or letting you guys know what the winner was in our next tips and tricks. And without further ado, I'd like to turn it over for any questions. Feel free to utilize that chat functionality to ask any questions, the Q&A. If you're not seeing the Q&A tool, we do have, again, utilize those little icons at the bottom to pull that up for you, and we are monitoring it. So far, we've had some questions asked, and they have been answered. But of course, we do have the next few minutes in the event that the team wants to add any more.
And I just want to add that if you have a suggestion for us that wasn't part of one of those 4, we're always welcome to hearing your ideas. So please bring it forth to your customer success manager, or if you want to, put it in that question box, let us know. We'll definitely consider for a future tips and tricks session.
Definitely. Also, before we conclude, I wanted to let you know that for some of you on the line that have been coming to recent tips and tricks, you've noticed that we're utilizing this new tool, and we are able to generate statistics from this tool. So what does that mean for you? What that means is that we are able to monitor the engagement. So upcoming or soon to come, we will actually be hosting engagement competitions. If you are the most engaged, we will open that up. We'll keep you informed as the tips and tricks continue, and we'll let you know there may be prizes involved. So be sure to join our tips and tricks every month to get those engagement points. The more you get, the closer you'll be to your prize. All right, Fred and Ileana. Well, I am not seeing any more questions on the Q&A portal here. So I am going to say just one final thank you. Lucy, Justin, thank you so much for just joining us today. Your presentation was really insightful. For some of you who were watching Lucy's presentation, she even developed a whole help site internally for her team. Some of those items can be found on our help site. So feel free to either reach out to your customer success manager or utilize our site, and you can just export some of those things and create your own for your internal team. Thank you, everyone. We look forward to seeing you next month. It was a very great production today, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your week.
Thanks, Carla. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.